Hi, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the Electro Revolution channel. My name is Michael and I'm a car and tech enthusiast. In these series of episodes, we're going through a report released by an insurance company, specifically AAMI Car Insurance, their arm of car insurance, going through a report where they said 20% of drivers disable the safety systems within their vehicles. Now, in the first episode, we covered items or points 1, 2, and 3. In this episode, we're going to cover items 4 and 5, which involve the emergency braking, the automatic emergency braking system, and also the forward collision warning system. And then we're also going to go through the reasons why they're actually disabled by the motorists. So I hope you enjoy this episode. The fourth one, automatic emergency braking. They call that AEB. 16% turn that off. Now, I know with the BYDs I own, there is a feature to have 3 modes of the AEB. So you can have it where it's very strict, so its detection could have false positives. It's moderate, which is the setting I have. That'll hit the brakes when it determines that either you're traveling at a certain speed that you're going to hit the car in front of you, or the car in front of you, pulls out quickly in front of you, something like that, or that you're traveling and there's a car on the side and it pulls out straight in front of you. That AEB system will actually hit the brakes in that scenario also. Now, what I found quite interesting is that's one of the reasons I liked the Atto 3, because when I actually went to the dealership at the time in 2023 to test drive the Atto 3, I took it on a main road, and just by my surprise, I was turning right off a set of lights and into a 3 transit lane road, and I was on the left lane, and a person in the middle lane had quickly gone straight in front of me, and before I could react, I felt the AEB system hit the brakes for me, and of course it generates a warning, it does a bing 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 warning, but it hit the brakes and I felt it. I was maybe half a second slower than the reaction time of the vehicle, so I was actually impressed with that. And I said, this is actually a pretty good system to detect something like that even before I could detect it. Now, of course, as you get older, your reaction times technically slow down. And as maybe a younger person would have a quicker reaction time, and they may not have noticed that sort of thing, as subtly as I noticed it. But nevertheless, I think automatic emergency braking is a great feature. Now, that's not to say automatic emergency braking is equal amongst all car makes. That's not true, because some are too sensitive, some are overly sensitive. They hit the brakes on a vehicle that's maybe turning away from the main road to park on the side of the road, and that sort of stuff. Now, I have experienced that also in the BYD occasionally, not all the time, but it does get annoying when it hits the brakes sometimes, especially very hard, and you don't expect it. It's actually a surprise sometimes, but generally speaking, it does the job well. But again, tell me your experiences in the comments, the way you find it. You may not agree with some of the things, or you may have some different points. I'd love to hear them. Now, number 5 is the forward collision warning. Now, that's a problem essentially where you're accelerating too fast and the car determines that you can't slow down quick enough before you hit the car in front of you. Now, that's an important system, I think, not to disable, because there's not too many false positives in that. But again, it's not the same with all makes and models. Some of them have multiple cameras, some of them have sonar, some of them have LiDAR, all of these different systems that help them in these ADAS systems. So I know in the BYDs it works pretty well. It doesn't always work, but it works pretty well when it does engage And again, in those situations where maybe the car in front hits the brakes very quickly, the car that I'm driving will end up hitting the brakes to avoid that forward collision. So what were the three main reasons that AAMI cited out of the 2,000 respondents that responded to their survey as to why one or more of the safety features were disabled in each of their vehicles? The number one top reason: annoying, distractive, or too sensitive. That was 69% of the respondents. Now, I can tend to agree with that if it was too distracting while I'm driving. Now, for example, when I bought the BYD Seal in 2024, when I first did the research on that particular vehicle, I think almost every single reviewer said it bings and bongs too much and it's annoying and it's difficult to turn off. And even if there were features that you could turn off, it would turn back on as soon as you turn the vehicle on again, or turn the vehicle off and turn the vehicle on again. Now, when I took the Seal for a test drive, we've got three models in Australia: the Dynamic, the Premium and the Performance. I took all three for test drives individually. I didn't experience any of that, and that was interesting. So I then looked at, before I bought the Premium model, I then looked at a video which was titled the BYD Seal Updated 2024 Review. And when I looked at that, the gentleman that was presenting that video said BYD had listened to the customer base, they listened to the reviewers, and they did an OTA update to minimize the distraction of the vehicle. The bings and bongs, it basically removed them. And that's why I didn't experience that in the BYD Seal when I bought it. But I guess if I rated an earlier model, maybe a 2023 model, or maybe a March 2024 and prior model, because those were the models in Australia that gave that problem, then yes, I may have agreed with that. So in terms of annoying, distractive, or too sensitive, absolutely. I think if it gets in the way of driving, it's annoying, you need to turn it off. So 69% of respondents responded that way. Number two, we don't need them. That was 23% of the respondents. Now, I would guess if you're a good driver and you're alert when you drive, yes, I don't think you actually need it. Now, I remember in my early years, I think I was 25 years old, I ended up putting myself into the BMW Advanced Driver Training course. And that allowed me to go to the racetrack at Eastern Creek, which is local to me at the time, and race around there and drive. At that time, I think it was a 325i that I was driving, a brand new 325i, but of course it had specific braking systems and stuff where the instructor could talk to you through the car, where you could turn on and off ABS braking and all these things. But my point is, I did the Advanced Driver Training course, so I taught myself, or I let them teach me how to drive a performance vehicle. Now, this is really important, that as part of that course, they would tell you at all times you need to look at all parts of the windscreen and determine what's happening here and what's happening here and what you can predict here and what you can predict there. So you actually process a lot of information when you drive, and you've got to do this continually when you're driving. So maybe not all people would put themselves into courses like that, or driving courses like that, but technically speaking, humans can't do all of that continually while driving. So these safety systems can, because they're essentially machines, they're computer systems that do this work for you. Now, if you're a safe driver, I guess that doesn't matter. You drive without speeding, you're much more cautious, you're predicting the traffic, maybe some other people that are doing mistakes, you can pre-predict that mistake on what's going to be the outcome if they make this move or that move, and you're a cautious driver. If you're a cautious driver, absolutely you wouldn't need this. But if you're one of those drivers that swerves through traffic and misses cars while, doing a blinker and immediately changing lanes and missing a car by 5 centimeters and 10 centimeters, I get some of those drivers in front of me sometimes. Usually they're on their Ps, which is the provisional license. But nevertheless, if you're one of those drivers, then absolutely you would need these technologies. Anyway, tell us what you think. Now, the third point was we don't trust the technology. That was 13% of the respondents said we don't trust the technology. And when I really think about this, if I was in a full self-driving vehicle, now I do watch another channel which does the Tesla FSDs, that's primarily what that channel does. When I watch that channel, I notice that as long as the Tesla has been programmed, or the FSD system within the Tesla vehicle has been programmed for that city and for the roads, it knows what to expect, then it does do a pretty good job. But it's still not perfect, because I notice they usually put their hands under the steering ready for something that the Tesla vehicle gets wrong. So it's a 99% type technology today. Not trusting the technology? Yes. I certainly wouldn't go to sleep in a vehicle and have it do the full FSD from the source to the destination. Now, unfortunately, there have been people that have died because they've done that, because they've fallen asleep and actually, trusted the vehicle. You can see some of those in America, unfortunately. But it's not something that I would do for full self-driving. However, this isn't for full self-driving. A lot of these front end collisions, rear end, backing into other vehicles or backing into poles or all of this sort of stuff, that does help. So I wouldn't personally say I don't trust all the technology. Some of the technology, absolutely I wouldn't trust, but most of the technology that they put into the systems within the car, we're talking radar and LiDAR and cameras and radio waves and all of these other things are safety features of the vehicle to help you. Another thing that the AAMI report stated was that these sentiments for these main 3 points were actually true for most of the drivers. The way they defined it was overly aggressive steering corrections. Now, I've personally experienced that in other vehicles, not in the BYDs themselves, like say for example the Cherry. I remember watching a reviewer review the latest Cherry that came into Australia, the latest BEV, and his words, it wanted to kill me. So basically it was controlling the steering so strong that he had to try and keep the car in the lane. So again, you can't use the same brush for all vehicles and all brands. Each one has their own type of safety systems and how aggressive they are and how moderate they are. But that was one of the reasons, and some unexpected braking of some of the frustrations that people have noted to AAMI within the survey. I hope you enjoyed episode 2. Now, those were the main 5 points we covered in episodes 1 and episode 2. We also covered why motorists are turning these off, and in the following episode we're going to cover more. I'm not going to talk about it now. I'll let you watch it yourself. So if you really enjoyed this episode, and I hope you did, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this content with someone who'd enjoy it, or just leave a comment. It really all helps. So until the next episode, I hope to see you then. Bye for now.